My mum's new boyfriend is my teacher. I don't really know where to start, so I'll just say this. My mum deserves better. She's one of those people who gives everything to everyone. Her time, her patience, her sanity, and gets nothing but exhaustion in return. She raised me alone since I was 8. My dad left after their trial separation, turned into permanent silence. I used to hate him for it, but lately I think maybe Mum did too, just in a quieter way. Anyway, she's been lonely for years. She works night shifts at the hospital, comes home smelling like hand sanitizer and cheap coffee, and still manages to smile at me in the mornings before I go to school. I can tell she's tired down to her bones. So when she told me she was seeing someone, I wanted to be happy for her. Really, I did. She'd been glowing the past few weeks, humming while she cooked, dressing up on weekends, checking her phone like a teenager. I could tell she was nervous about telling me. One morning over breakfast, she just blurted it out. "Lena, I want you to meet someone. His name's Drew." I smiled because that's what you do. "Sure, Mom," I said. "When?" She told me Friday night, a dinner at home. She'd make her famous lasagna. "He's really wonderful," she said with that hopeful tone that sounds like a prayer. "You'll like him?" I didn't think anything of it at first. Mom's date, it's normal. She deserved that. It wasn't until Friday night, when the doorbell rang, that everything tilted. The smell of tomato sauce filled the kitchen. Mom was wearing her good blouse, the blue one with tiny flowers. I was half distracted scrolling through my phone when she called from the hallway. "Lena, come meet Drew." I walked out and my stomach dropped so fast I almost forgot how to breathe. Standing in the doorway was Mr. Hansen, my English teacher. I swear time folded in on itself. He was wearing jeans and a button-down, holding a bottle of wine and smiling like he didn't just fail me last semester. Like he didn't pull me aside one afternoon and tell me I wasn't applying myself. "Lena," my mom said, beaming. "This is Drew. Drew, my daughter Lena." He looked at me, and there was this flicker like recognition passing through a storm. But he recovered instantly, smiling too wide. "Ah," he said smoothly. "I didn't realize you two were related. Small world, small world." My brain was screaming. I managed a stiff, "Hi, Drew." Mom didn't notice the slip. We sat down to dinner, and it was like every second stretched into hours. He complimented the food, asked about my classes, and pretended like we were strangers. But I could feel it, this invisible tension buzzing between us. He knew exactly who I was, and he was enjoying it. Every time Mom turned away, he'd glance at me with this half-smirk. It wasn't overt, just enough to make my skin crawl. I tried to focus on eating, but my appetite was gone. My mom was talking about her shifts, about how thoughtful Drew had been, how he'd been helping her with paperwork after she messed up a medication order at work. "He's been such a blessing," she said, reaching over to touch his hand. Something twisted in my stomach. Paperwork? Medication error? How did he know about that? He smiled at her and said softly, "Anyone would have done the same." Then he looked at me again, and that smirk returned. Subtle, knowing. I barely remember the rest of dinner. Just flashes. Him complimenting her lasagna, her laughing too loudly, me scraping my fork against the plate so I didn't have to look at him. After he left, Mom turned to me with this hopeful expression. "So?" she asked. "What do you think?" I froze. The truth sat on my tongue, sharp as glass. He's my teacher. He failed me. He's a creep. But she looked so happy, the kind of happy she hadn't been in years, so I swallowed it. "He seems nice," I said, and I hated myself for it. That night I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, my mind replaying the way he looked at me, that calm, confident stare that said he had all the power. I knew that look. I'd seen it in class whenever I tried to defend myself or question a grade. The way he'd lean back smiling like he already knew I'd lose. Now he was in my house, eating my mom's food, touching her hand like he owned it. I told myself it was just a coincidence, that maybe he'd changed, that maybe I was imagining things. But then I remembered something else. The way he'd spoken about her mistake. That wasn't something casual. That was something only she should have told him, and I couldn't stop thinking, how did he find out? The next morning I came downstairs to find him again, sitting at our kitchen table, drinking coffee like he belonged there. Mom was in the shower. He smiled at me, just a hint too slow. "Morning, Lena," he said. "You sleep okay?" I didn't answer. I just stared at him. He took a slow sip and added, "You know your mom's been through a lot. Try not to make things harder for her." Then he winked, and that's when I knew this wasn't a coincidence, this was a threat. Ever since that first dinner, my house hasn't felt like my house. It's like he left something behind in the air, a smell, a sound, a shadow. Even when he's not there, I feel him. His voice in my head, his smirk in the back of my eyelids. The sense that something's about to snap. Mom has been floating. That's the only way to describe it. Floating on some new current of excitement, completely blind to the rocks underneath. She started wearing lipstick to work. Started humming again when she cleaned the kitchen. She's so happy. And for the first time, I'm scared of her happiness. Because I know what's underneath it. Drew, Mr. Hansen, is everywhere now. He picks her up from work. He drops by just to check in. He even fixed the loose kitchen cabinet last Sunday, like some sitcom boyfriend who's here to stay. My house smells like his cologne. My mom's face lights up every time her phone buzzes. Meanwhile, I've been walking around school with my head down, praying no one notices. Praying no one sees the same thing I do. Because in class he's exactly the same as always, controlled, composed, cruel in tiny ways. When I raise my hand, he calls on someone else. When I ask about assignments, he gives me vague answers. I failed his class last semester. I'm barely scraping by this one. I used to think it was just bad luck or my own fault. Now I'm not so sure. One afternoon after school, I caught him in the hallway. He was leaning against the wall texting, alone. I wanted to just walk past, but my feet wouldn't move. So I said it. "You're dating my mom." He didn't even look up. Just smirked, still typing. "That's right, Lena," he said. "Is that a problem?" "She doesn't know who you are," I hissed. That made him look at me, slowly, like a cat turning toward a mouse. "She knows exactly who I am," he said. "I'm Drew, her boyfriend, the man who cares about her. Maybe you should try it sometime." I felt my face burn. "You failed me on purpose," I blurted. He chuckled, low and dark. "Sweetheart, you failed yourself. I just graded the work." Then he stepped closer, lowering his voice. "But let's be clear. If you start making trouble for your mom and me, that little medication mistake of hers, the one at work, I could make sure the right people hear about it. And she would lose everything." My stomach turned to ice. "How do you even know about that?" He smiled. "I know things, and I protect people I care about, but only if they don't make trouble." Then he brushed past me like I was nothing, leaving me standing there with my heart hammering in my ears. That night I tried to tell Mom. I really did. She was in the kitchen stirring soup. She looked so tired but so hopeful, like she'd finally found a reason to get up in the morning. And there I was, about to ruin it. "Mom," I said, "do you know who Drew really is?" She didn't even look up. "What do you mean?" "He's my teacher, Mr. Hanson. He's the reason I failed English." She laughed, a short, nervous sound. "Lena, don't be dramatic. He told me about that already." "You just had a bad semester." I stared at her. "He told you?" "Yes, honey. We don't have secrets." She turned, spoon in hand. "He's been helping me with some things at work, too. He's been really good to me." I wanted to scream. But I saw her eyes, tired, guarded, and I realized she was already under his spell. Or maybe his thumb. So I just said, "Okay," and walked upstairs. Over the next week I started watching them. Not like a jealous kid, but like someone mapping an enemy. I noticed patterns. He always called her right after his last class ended. He always brought up her little mistake in some joking way when she seemed upset. And every time I walked into a room, their conversation would stop. I started digging. Old yearbooks, school records, Google. Turns out Mr. Hanson has taught at 3 different schools in 5 years. At each one he left due to personal reasons. No other details. Just gone. I also found something worse, an old article about a harassment complaint at a previous school. The article never named him, but the description matched. Young female student, older male teacher. Inappropriate boundaries. Settled quietly, I sat there staring at the screen, my hands shaking. This wasn't just my mom. This wasn't just me. He'd done this before I started planning. I knew I couldn't just go to the school. He'd deny everything. I couldn't go to the police yet either, not without proof. All I had were my memories and a couple of vague articles, but I could feel him closing in. His glances in class were sharper now. When he smiled at my mom, there was this edge to it, like he was daring me to do something. Like he wanted me to know he was in control. Then one night I overheard them in the kitchen. Mom's voice low, trembling. "I can't do this forever." His voice calm and cold. "You don't have a choice. Not unless you want your whole life to go up in flames." I stood in the hallway, heart pounding, recording it on my phone. My hands were shaking so hard I almost dropped it. That's when I decided I wasn't just going to tell her. I was going to show her. The next morning over breakfast I smiled at Mom and said, "Hey, can we have dinner again this Friday? All 3 of us? I think we should talk." She looked surprised, then relieved. "Oh, honey, that would be wonderful. He's been worried you don't like him." I smiled back, my stomach churning. "Oh, I like him just fine," I said. "I think it's time we all got everything out in the open." And inside I was already building the trap. By Friday morning my plan was simple and terrifying. I was going to make him slip. I was going to make my mom see who he really was. And I was going to record everything. All week I acted like nothing was wrong. Smiled in class, answered his fake friendly questions. Nodded when he called me Miss Carter with that condescending grin. But inside I was planning every detail. I charged my phone, cleared storage, and set up the voice recorder app to run in the background. I rehearsed what I'd say. Not too aggressive, not too obvious. I had to make him talk. The thing about people like him is that they can't stand losing control. You just have to push them hard enough and they'll expose themselves. Friday night came faster than I wanted it to. Mom was nervous, fluttering around the kitchen like she was hosting a royal banquet instead of dinner for 3. She'd made roast chicken and mashed potatoes, lit candles, even wore perfume. I sat at the table, pretending to scroll on my phone, when the doorbell rang, and just like that he was there again, Mr. Hanson, or Drew. As my mom called him, The man who looked at me like I was both invisible and dangerous. He smiled as he walked in, bringing that same bottle of wine he always brought, like it was some kind of ritual. "Evening, ladies," he said, hanging up his coat. "Smells amazing in here," my mom beamed. "We've been looking forward to this all week, haven't we, Lena?" I forced a smile. "Yeah, definitely." He sat down across from me, and for a few minutes everything was normal, polite conversation. Weather talk, work talk. He bragged about helping Mom with her paperwork again, and she blushed. Every time she looked at him, I felt something tighten in my chest, a mix of anger and disbelief. Then I decided to start. "So," I said, cutting into my food, "how long have you two been seeing each other?" Mom smiled. "Almost 2 months now," I nodded. "That's funny. You've only been at the school for about 3 months, right?" He froze for half a second, just a flicker, then smiled. "Something like that. Small town, easy to meet people." "Right," I said. "Like students' parents?" Mom frowned. "Lena." He leaned back in his chair, cool as ever. "Lena and I met through school, yes. But that's hardly a crime," I shrugged. "I guess it depends on what kind of meeting it was." My mom's fork clattered against her plate. "Enough, Lena. I don't know what this attitude is about, but I kept going. I couldn't stop. The fear and anger that had been building for weeks finally cracked open. "Mom, do you even know how I failed English last semester?" "Because of him. He made it personal. He humiliated me in front of the whole class. And now he's sitting here acting like some kind of savior." Her face fell, confusion and pain mixing together. "Lena, please," he cut her off. "Your daughter is exaggerating. Teenagers do that. She's upset she didn't earn the grade she wanted, and now she's trying to sabotage your relationship." His voice was smooth, calm, practiced. I could almost hear the condescension he used in class when he wanted to make me look stupid, but I had something he didn't expect. "I know about the emails," I said. "The ones where you told Mom you'd handle her medication issue. The one that could get her fired, that did it." His mask cracked for a split second. My mom's face went pale. "Lena," she whispered. "What emails?" He turned to her with fake concern. "Honey, she's confused. She's just trying to—" "No," I said, my voice shaking. "I'm not confused. You're blackmailing her. You told her you'd ruin her if she ever tried to leave you. You said you'd expose her mistake." The silence that followed was the longest 5 seconds of my life. Then my mum said, barely above a whisper, "Is that true?" He sighed, slow, measured, the sound of someone calculating. "Caroline, don't listen to her. She's been unstable for weeks. I've tried to help, but she—" I slammed my phone down on the table. The red recording light blinked back at us. "You're lying," I said. "And I have proof." He froze. That calm mask melted into something darker. "You recorded this." His voice dropped an octave. Every word I said. For the first time he looked rattled. His jaw tightened, his eyes darted between us. "Turn it off," he hissed. Now Mom was trembling. "Drew, what is this?" "What is she talking about?" He reached for my phone, fast, but I snatched it back. "Don't touch me," I said, my voice breaking. "I know everything, and I'm not afraid of you anymore." He straightened up, breathing hard. Then, unbelievably, he smiled again. "You think anyone will believe a teenager over me? Over your mother's boyfriend? You're a failing student with an attitude problem. You've got nothing." But he was wrong. Because my mom was already standing. "Get out," she said quietly. He blinked. "Caroline, get out of my house," she said louder this time, her voice cracking. "Right now." He hesitated, like he couldn't process that he was actually losing control. Then finally he grabbed his coat and stormed out, slamming the door so hard the candles flickered out. For a long time, none of us spoke. The house was completely still except for the sound of my mum's breathing, shaky, uneven. Finally she looked at me, eyes glistening. "Is it true?" she whispered. "All of it?" I nodded. "Yeah, Mom, I'm sorry. I didn't know how else to show you." She sat down, covered her face, and started to cry. Not loud sobs and just quiet, broken sounds. And I realized for the first time that she wasn't angry at me. She was angry at herself. That night she sent me to bed and sat in the living room for hours, staring at nothing. When I came downstairs the next morning, he was gone. Every trace of him. But her phone was open on the counter, and I could see the message she'd sent him at 3:14 a.m. "Don't ever contact me again. If you do, the police get everything." The morning after he left felt like the world had stopped breathing. The house was silent. No smell of coffee, no music, no sound of my mom humming like she always did on weekends. Just this thick, heavy quiet, the kind that comes after an explosion. I didn't sleep much that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw his face, that smirk fading into anger when he realized he'd lost. I kept replaying it, wondering if I'd done enough. Or too much. What if he came back? What if he hurt her for real next time? When I walked downstairs, Mum was sitting at the kitchen table, still in her robe, her eyes red and puffy. There was a half-empty mug of cold tea next to her, and her phone on the counter, with messages open. Unread. She didn't look up right away. Finally, she said softly, "You were right." I didn't know what to say. She looked up, tears in her eyes. I didn't want to believe it. I just wanted someone to see me, to make me feel like I wasn't alone. Her voice broke, and he knew that. He knew exactly what I needed to hear. I sat across from her, my throat tight. He did that to me too, I whispered. At school. Not the same way, but he made me feel small. Like I had no control. She reached across the table and grabbed my hand. You should have never had to protect me, Lena. That's not your job. I wanted to tell her it was okay that I didn't mind. But that would have been a lie. Because I did mind. I minded that it took me this long to make her see it. I minded that she got hurt at all. I minded that the man who'd been controlling both of our lives got to walk away that easily. Except, he didn't. 3 days later, the school sent out a notice. Mr. Hansen had been placed on administrative leave pending investigation. Apparently, he hadn't taken our warning quietly. He'd shown up at the school that Monday like nothing had happened. Business as usual. Until someone who, not me, not Mom, sent the audio recording to the principal and the district superintendent. I still don't know who. Maybe Mom. Maybe one of her friends at work. Maybe even someone else he'd hurt before. But once the investigation started, things spiraled fast. Rumors spread. Other students came forward. Parents, too. There were old complaints at other schools, buried, ignored, or resolved privately. Now they were resurfacing. Within a week, the police got involved. Within 2, he was arrested. Mom didn't say much when she heard. Just nodded, closed her eyes, and whispered, "Good." I thought that would make everything better, but it didn't. Not right away. Our house still felt haunted. The dining table still had a faint candle wax stain from that night. His coffee mug was still in the dishwasher. Even after Mom threw it out, I swear I could see the outline of it in the cabinet, like a ghost of something we let inside. Mom went back to work, but she wasn't the same for a while. She stopped talking about dating. She didn't hum anymore. Sometimes I'd find her sitting in the dark after her shift, just staring at the floor. Not crying, just gone somewhere inside herself. One night I sat beside her and said, "You didn't do anything wrong, you know." She gave me this tired smile. I ignored the signs. "That's wrong enough." I shook my head. "No, you just wanted to believe in something good. That's not a crime." She squeezed my hand, her voice soft. "Neither is being a good daughter. But I'm sorry I made you have to be the adult." That hit harder than I expected, because she was right. I had been the adult, and that wasn't fair. By the time the news broke that he'd been arrested for blackmail, coercion, and misconduct, it didn't even feel real anymore. Kids whispered about it at school, of course. Some people called me brave. Others called me crazy. I ignored most of it. I didn't care what they thought. But the day the principal called me into her office, I'll never forget. She looked at me like she wanted to apologize for the whole system. She said, "You did the right thing, Lena. You helped a lot of people." And for the first time, I actually believed her. A few weeks later, Mom took a day off work. She said she had something she wanted to do. We drove to a lake about an hour out of town. It was quiet, just wind and water and leaves moving on the surface. She brought a small box with her, filled with photos, receipts, and a bracelet he'd given her. She stood by the water for a long time, then dropped the box in. "I need to stop keeping things that hurt me," she said. I just nodded. The wind was cold, but the air felt clean for the first time in months. That night we had dinner together, just the two of us. Simple stuff. Soup and bread. No candles, no wine, no pretending. Halfway through, Mom said, "I'm proud of you, you know." I looked up. "For what?" "For being brave when I couldn't be," she said. "For not letting him win." I didn't know what to say. I just smiled even though my eyes were burning. Then she added quietly, "You saved me." And maybe it sounds dramatic, but that's when it finally hit me, what really happened. We both got saved that night. Not by the police or the recording or some dramatic twist, but by truth. By saying the thing we were both too scared to say out loud, that we'd been manipulated and we didn't deserve it. It didn't fix everything. But it was a start. It's been 3 months now. The house feels lighter. Mom hums again. Sometimes I still wake up in the middle of the night, heart racing, thinking I hear his voice. But it fades quickly. The other day, Mom was cooking dinner and she asked, "Want to help me make the mashed potatoes?" I laughed. "Only if I don't have to meet any new boyfriends." She rolled her eyes, smiling. "No more boyfriends. Just us for a while, so we cooked. And for the first time in forever, dinner actually felt safe." Make sure to drop a like and subscribe to not miss any new daily stories.